always talk about the gambling numbers. Sometimes how the point spread, the totals might play into how you factor in assembling your lineup. How much do you put to weather? Obviously, if it's like driving rain or snow or like that, but what about just the cold weather?
Cold is in and of itself not terrible. I think it does lend itself to slightly more ground heavy game plans, but not enough to where I would shut down top wideouts or even like wide receiver twos I've been relying on all season. I think maybe you'd see a few reductions in the number of chances teams will take downfield, but ultimately it's the wind that you have to look out for. If there are 15, 20, 25 mile per hour gusts of wind frequently throughout a game, that's where I feel like you really have to start pivoting away and looking for other matchups to exploit. So I think you're just going to see a slight adjustment to this game plan, barring some kind of significant shift with heavy winds taking away what Derek Carr and the Raiders could do through the air.
All right, so what are your recommendations for tonight's game in terms of who you should put in your fantasy lineup and who you should leave out?
I'm definitely starting Spencer Ware. I mean, I think
Yeah.
he's going to get his share of the touches regardless of what ends up happening tonight weather-wise. If it's just cold and no wind, or if it's cold and snowy, it won't matter. I think Ware's going to get 18-plus carries. He'll catch a few passes out of the backfield. And as good as the Raiders' defense is in real life, forcing turnovers, Khalil Mack, of course, getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, I don't think they're particularly stout against the run. Kansas City is one of those teams that I feel like can run it pretty consistently against everybody. But the guy I'm really kind of staying away from, I know a lot of people are excited he's back, is Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin just wasn't the same player we expected him to be from last season when he came back this season. I don't know if the target volume is going to be the same. I think Andy Reid's running things a bit differently with the Tyreek Hill breakout. Travis Kelce has played exceptionally well these last couple of games too. So I don't really see Andy Reid just dismantling all that to get Jeremy Maclin heavily involved in the game plan. It might be a more gradual progression here with the hope of having Jeremy Maclin serving as their top wideout by the time the playoffs start in January.
What about from the Raiders side of things? What do you do with guys like Latavius Murray, who wasn't in the game when these two teams faced off earlier on in the season? So we haven't been able to see him against this Chiefs defense. What do you do with him tonight?
I like Murray. I think I would start him. I know the Chiefs defense does play a lot better at Arrowhead than they tend to play on the road, but Murray's been getting more volume recently, had the 2 TD game last week. And the biggest thing with Latavius Murray is that I think he's finally healthy. The beginning of the season, Jalen Richard was eating into his workload a little bit. So was DeAndre Washington. And I think that had more to do with a turf toe problem that Latavius Murray was dealing with in the first half than anything the Raiders coaches actually want to do as far as the distribution of touches from a skill-based standpoint.